This is Veriscope News. Verified news, clear context. Our reporting focuses on official economic and energy data released by government institutions and international agencies. Each report explains what the data shows, where it comes from, and how it fits into the broader economic system. The goal is clarity. No speculation, no commentary, no opinion. Only verified information presented in plain language. Today's report examines a new energy market projection published by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. The data comes from the agency's Short-Term Energy Outlook, released on March 10, 2026. One figure in the report concerns the projected average retail gasoline price in the United States for calendar year 2026. The projection has changed compared with the previous outlook. This report explains the updated projection, the numerical change between forecasts, and how the short-term energy outlook is produced. Energy prices are closely monitored because they influence transportation costs, household spending, and business operations. Gasoline prices are one of the most visible energy prices in the United States. Drivers encounter gasoline prices regularly when purchasing fuel for personal vehicles, commercial fleets, and delivery services. Government agencies collect data on gasoline prices to understand how energy markets evolve over time. One federal agency responsible for producing energy market data is the U.S. Energy Information Administration, commonly called the EIA. The EIA publishes multiple statistical reports throughout the year. These reports include weekly petroleum inventory data, monthly production estimates, and long-term energy projections. One of the agency's most widely referenced reports is the Short-Term Energy Outlook, often abbreviated as STEO. The Short-Term Energy Outlook provides projections covering the current year and the following year. The report includes forecasts for energy supply, energy consumption, energy inventories, and energy prices. The report also includes projections for global oil production, global petroleum demand, and benchmark crude oil prices. These projections are updated once each month. Each new edition reflects updated data and revised modeling assumptions based on information available at the time of publication. The March 2026 edition of the Short-Term Energy Outlook contains updated projections for multiple energy indicators. One of those indicators is the average U.S. retail gasoline price expected during calendar year 2026. The latest report shows a different projected value compared with the previous forecast. The U.S. Energy Information Administration released the Short-Term Energy Outlook March 10, 2026, at approximately 12 p.m. Eastern Time. The report includes updated projections for the U.S. energy market. One data point in the report concerns the national average retail gasoline price for the United States in 2026. According to the March 2026 outlook, the projected average retail gasoline price for calendar year 2026 is $3.34 per gallon. This value reflects the EIA's current modeling estimate based on available data and energy market conditions at the time the report was prepared. The Short-Term Energy Outlook released earlier projected a lower gasoline price for the same year. In the previous outlook, the projected average retail gasoline price for 2026 was $2.91 per gallon. The difference between the current projection and the previous projection equals 43 cents per gallon. The calculation is straightforward. $3.34 per gallon minus $2.91 per gallon equals 43 cents per gallon. The updated forecast therefore shows a projected increase of 43 cents per gallon compared with the previous forecast. The values referenced in the report match the figures cited in media coverage referencing the EIA release. Both Reuters and Bloomberg published coverage on March 10, 2026, referencing the Short-Term Energy Outlook. The gasoline price projection cited in those reports corresponds to the value published in the official EIA document. No discrepancies were identified between the EIA report and the values cited in those news reports. The The comparison described in the short-term energy outlook reflects an updated forecast relative to the previously published forecast. This comparison does not represent a revision to a historical gasoline price. Instead, it reflects a change in the projected value. The short-term energy outlook is one of several forecasting publications produced by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. The report provides monthly updates on energy market expectations for the near term. The near-term forecasting window typically covers the current calendar year and the following year. The report combines statistical analysis, economic modeling, and energy market data. Inputs used in the model include data on oil production, petroleum inventories, refinery activity, global oil supply, and global energy demand. The report also incorporates assumptions about economic growth, seasonal demand patterns, and energy consumption trends. The purpose of the report is to provide a structured estimate of how energy supply and demand may evolve in the short term. These projections are updated frequently because energy markets can change quickly. Changes in supply, demand, or production levels may alter price expectations. Each new monthly edition incorporates newly available data. As new information becomes available, the projected values may change. Because of this process, differences between successive outlooks are common. A forecast produced one month may be revised the following month when additional data becomes available. The updated gasoline price projection in the March 2026 outlook is one example of this process. The report provides a new projection that differs from the value published in the previous outlook. The short-term energy outlook also includes projections for several other energy indicators. These indicators include U.S. crude oil production, global petroleum consumption, and global petroleum inventories. The report also includes projections for benchmark crude oil prices, such as Brent crude. Energy analysts often examine these projections to understand how different energy market components may interact. Although the short-term energy outlook contains projections, it does not represent a policy decision. It is a statistical publication designed to present modeled estimates. These estimates are based on data available at the time the report is produced. Households. Gasoline prices influence household spending because many households purchase gasoline regularly. In the United States, gasoline is used primarily for transportation. Passenger vehicles, small trucks, and personal transportation fleets rely on gasoline as a fuel source. When households purchase gasoline, the cost appears directly in personal budgets. The national average gasoline price represents the average across multiple regions. Individual local prices may vary depending on regional supply conditions, state taxes, and distribution costs. The projected gasoline price published in the short-term energy outlook represents a national average estimate. This average helps provide a reference point for understanding overall energy spending trends. Household energy spending includes not only gasoline, but also electricity, heating fuel, and natural gas. Gasoline spending is one component of that broader energy spending category. Prices. Gasoline prices are part of the broader energy price system. Energy prices influence multiple sectors of the economy. Fuel costs affect transportation expenses for individuals and businesses. Transportation costs may also influence shipping costs and distribution costs for goods. Because gasoline is a refined petroleum product, its price reflects several components. These components include the cost of crude oil, refining costs, distribution expenses, and taxes. Changes in projected gasoline prices may reflect changes in expected conditions within these components. For example, projections may change if energy production expectations shift or if global petroleum demand expectations change. The short-term energy outlook integrates these factors when generating projections. Jobs and labor. Energy markets also influence employment in multiple sectors. Workers are employed in oil production, refining, transportation, pipeline operation, and distribution. Changes in energy demand or production levels may affect activity within those sectors. Employment effects are often indirect. For example, trucking companies, shipping operations, and logistics firms all depend on fuel. Energy price expectations may influence cost projections used by these industries. The short-term energy outlook includes projections for crude oil production and other energy indicators. These projections help analysts understand how energy sector activity may develop in the near term. Savings and investment. Energy markets are also monitored by financial institutions and investors. Energy companies operate in the oil production, refining, and energy distribution industries. Investment decisions in these sectors may depend on expectations for future production and prices. Energy market projections published by government agencies provide one source of information used by analysts. These projections are not guarantees. They represent modeled estimates based on current data. Investors often compare projections from multiple sources when evaluating energy market trends. Businesses. Businesses across multiple industries rely on fuel for operations. Transportation companies use fuel for delivery vehicles and freight transport. Manufacturing companies may use energy for production process. Retail distribution networks depend on fuel for shipping and logistics. Because of this, energy price projections are monitored by business planners. Forecasts help companies estimate potential operating costs. The short-term energy outlook provides one of several reference points businesses use when evaluating energy cost expectations. Energy analysts continue to monitor several indicators included in the short-term energy outlook. One indicator is U.S. crude oil production. Another indicator is global petroleum demand. Analysts also monitor petroleum inventories, which measure the amount of oil and refined products stored in tanks in storage facilities. Energy inventories help indicate whether supply levels are increasing or decreasing relative to demand. The report also includes projections for benchmark crude oil prices. Benchmark crude oil prices influence refined product prices, including gasoline. In addition to the short-term energy outlook, analysts monitor several other recurring data releases. These include weekly petroleum status reports, which measure U.S. crude oil inventories and refinery activity. They also include production statistics released by government agencies and international energy organizations. Each of these data releases contributes additional information about the current state of the energy market. The short-term energy outlook provides an estimate of how the energy market may develop in the near term. The gasoline price figure discussed in this report represents a forecast for the national average retail gasoline price in 2026. Forecasts can change over time. Each new monthly outlook may update projections based on newly available data. The comparison between the current forecast and the previous forecast shows how projections can shift as conditions change. The March 2026 outlook projects an average gasoline price of $3.34 per gallon in 2026. The previous forecast projected $2.91 per gallon. The difference between those projections equals 43 cents per gallon. This difference represents a change in the forecast. It does not represent a revision to a previously recorded historical price. The value describes an updated estimate produced by the Energy Information Administration. Understanding the difference between forecasts and historical data is important. Historical data describes prices that have already occurred. Forecasts describe modeled estimates about possible future values. The short-term energy outlook publishes forecasts rather than confirmed future prices. These projections help provide context about the direction of energy market expectations. How the data is produced. The short-term energy outlook is generated using statistical models developed by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. The models integrate data from several sources. These sources include production statistics, refinery utilization rates, inventory levels, and international energy market indicators. Economic variables are also incorporated into the modeling process. These variables include measures of economic activity, industrial output, and transportation demand. Seasonal factors are another factor. Energy demand often varies by season. For example, gasoline demand tends to increase during periods of higher travel activity. Heating fuel demand increases during colder months. The modeling process accounts for these seasonal variations when producing projections. The models are recalculated regularly as new data becomes available. Each monthly edition of the short-term energy outlook reflects the most recent available data at the time of publication. Because the modeling process is updated frequently, projections can change from month to month. These changes reflect updated inputs rather than policy decisions. The report therefore functions as a statistical snapshot of current expectations within the energy market. The short-term energy outlook, March 2026, was released by the U.S. Energy Information Administration on March 10, 2026. The report provides updated projections for the U.S. energy market. One figure in the report concerns the projected average U.S. retail gasoline price for calendar year 2026. The March outlook projects that price at $3.34 per gallon. The previous outlook projected $2.91 per gallon. The difference between those two projections equals 43 cents per gallon. This comparison reflects an updated forecast relative to the previously published forecast. The short-term energy outlook is published monthly and provides updated projections for energy supply, demand, and prices. As new data becomes available, the projections in the report may change. This report summarizes the figures published in the latest edition. For verified data releases and clear context on major economic indicators, you are watching Veriscope News.